देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरुंश्चान् गीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि लेशतः. So good morning, good afternoon and good evening to friends who have joined for part C of chapter 7 Jnana Vijnana Yoga. I would like to hand over the stage to Venki ji to take us through the rest of the session. Please, over to you, Venki ji. You should be able to share your slides. Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Please tell me you can see my screen and
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Hari Om.
Venkaji, sorry, if you could just put it on slideshow mode.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Does it work?
It does, thanks.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Namaskara. Devam Narayanam Natva Sarvadosha Vivarjitam Paripurnam Gurumshchan Gītārtham Vakshāmi Leshadaha Samastaguna Sampurnam Sarvadosha Vivarjitam Narayanam Namaskritya Gita Tatparyamuchyate Gunagana Nilayam Patim Ramaya Jagadagadahanam Cha Vasavi Sunam Munikulatilakam Cha Purnabodham गुरुमविपरमं गुरुं च मे वन्दे इन्दिरावदनाम्बोज राजहंसाय विष्णवे अमन्दानन्दसन्दोह सुन्दराकृतये नमः लक्ष्मीनारायणं नत्वा पूर्णबोधान् गुरूनपि कुर्मः श्रीकृष्णगीतायाः भाष्याद्युक्तार्थसङ्ग्रहम्. The reason I recited the whole thing is today we are doing sort of a conclusion mangala of chapter 7, and we're going to pass it on to Anandji for the 8th chapter. And so I want to begin with many namaskaras to Swamiji's, our Guru Keshavrao Meera and Meeraji, and then for our leaders of this group, Madhu and Sureshji, and then to all of my fellow students here. We began with what is Jnana, what is Vijnana, what is Ajnana. Sureshji walked us through this. Then we talked about what is Hari Jnana. Then we talked about what is Hari Vijnana. That is what GVG talked about. And then Neetaji came in and then started talking about seekers and non-seekers. So to give a good introduction to this all over again, what I said is, let us go back and look at how the chapter started. The chapter started by saying, I'm going to tell you what is Jnana, what is Vijnana, and then the chapter started with Bhumirapo Nalo Vayuhu, where the Lord is now saying there is such a thing as Apara Prakriti. There is such a thing as Apara Prakriti, Para Prakriti, and hopefully you remember all of this. There is Apara Prakriti, which is all of the Jadas and all the Jivas that are in the Sansara. Then there is the Para Prakriti, which is Chit Prakriti, which is Mahalakshmi Devi and all the Mukta Jivas. And then Paratara. Paratara is Bhagavan Eva. He is the only person. Bhagavan is the only Paratara entity. And so we went through this whole entire taxonomy of the entire scheme in how the Lord has divided the entire creation. And then the Lord has then said, Mattah parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya, that he has then established himself as the highest with no higher than him. So what I did here is, on a recent visit to Udupi in Pajaka, I had this really, really nice representation of Apara, Para, and Paratara that has been described in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 7. So on the left-hand side here, you see Vayudeva, who Brahma, Vayu, and all the Amukta Jivas in the Prapancha are the Apara Prakriti. And then you see Mahalakshmi herself, who is along with the Mukta Jivas, the Para Prakriti. And then you see Lord Narayana himself, who is the Paratara entity. And so you have a very nice and beautiful description of Apara, Para, and Paratara all in one spot. And by the way, this is a painting at Srimad Acharya's birthplace, Pajaka. And it describes the Apara, Para, and Paratara in a way that is very easy and in a way in which you can visualize it as well. And then on the right hand side, you see a pictorial representation that has been committed to sculpture of the Mula Rupa of Vayudeva himself. Now we see the Vayudeva as Hanuman, and if you went behind the pillar, you would see him as Bhimasena, and then on the right hand side, you would see him as Madhvaguru. And what I'm trying to say here is that this is a picture right now which now describes the Vayudeva in his Mula form. He has a gada in his hand, he has a Abhaya Mudra in his hand, and then he has two hands folded in prayer pointing towards the Lord God himself. And we pray that such a Vayu's Mula Rupa, which has been described in Tantrasara as well as in Tantrasara Mantrodhara, that he protects us as we go forward. We also then went into what is jnana and what is vijnana. So rather than repeat what we have been thinking about right now, I thought I would give you an example of what is jnana and what is vijnana and how each level of additional jnana results in a very quantum benefit that you have as you go forward and upward. So, for example, on the left hand side, you see the Balamuri Shankha. It is called as the Dakshinavarti Shankha, or the Shankha where the Velk is on the right hand side. And so this is a very special kind of a Shankha found near Ramasetu most of the time. And there is an example in the Shastras, and I tried to find out in which Purana this story occurs, but I couldn't find it. But the story is something like this. There is a fisherman. He's walking around near Ramasetu and he finds such a Shankha. He looks at it and he says, hey, this looks like some Shankha, but it's a little bit different than what I know. And so he goes to a collector of the Shankhas and he sells it to him at a great price. He is very happy. He has jnana and he has become happy. He has become happy to the level that he needs to be. And he gets a little bit of vijnana, which is he was able to know that this shankha is a little bit different from any other shankha that was available. That was his level of vijnana. That was his level of jnana. In return for such a vijnana, he has gotten a bunch of money from the shankha collector and he's very happy. The shankha collector now recognizes that this is a very unique shankha, and he then goes to the local king there and gifts the shankha to the king, this Dakshinavarti shankha, and in return doesn't ask for anything. He says, king, this is a gift to you. This is a gift to you. And he doesn't ask anything in return. The king is very, very happy with him for bringing a very, very unique Dakshinavarti Shankha, the Balamuri Shankha, which is Lakshmi Devi's special presence itself, Sanidhana they call it. The king is very happy and he showers the collector with huge wealth. And so the collector is extremely happy. Now the collector has a little bit of jnana, which is that this is the Balamuri Shankha. Remember, the vijnana of the fisherman is now a regular jnana for this collector, but he has a lot more vijnana on top of it, isn't it? He recognizes that this is one of a kind shankha, and he recognizes that this is much better to be having it in the king's hand, and he has the presence of mind not to ask a gift from the king. So he does it everything correctly, and then he gets a huge amount of wealth bestowed on him, and he is also very, very happy. Now the king, who now has recognized the Dakshinavarti Shankha, worships the Shankha, and over a period of time, while he's fulfilling his duty, now becomes an emperor, Samrat. And when he becomes the emperor, the Dakshinavarti Shankha has itself then bestowed on him a huge amount of wealth, which allows him to then benevolently rule and fulfill his duties. So the king has done the highest amount of vijnana, isn't it? That he recognized that it is a Balamuri Shankha. He then recognized that it's a one-of-a-kind Shankha. And then he recognized that it is a Shankha that is worthy of worship. And so the vijnana at each level is rising. And as the vijnana at each level is rising, the commensurate benefit that the Lord has chosen to shower on these people has also been rising in concert. And so what we know from this is jnana, vijnana, these are very, very important entities for us. And so the higher the jnana, the more vijnana you get, and then the more vijnana gives you more jnana, more vijnana. So it's a virtuous cycle that takes you forward. And so each time you get a quantum of jnana and a quantum of vijnana, you get higher and higher ends. And that is what we are all hoping for, that we talk to people, their jnana is our vijnana is somebody else's jnana, and so on and so forth. So that is what we are hoping is going to happen. So I'm encouraging you again to engage with us for this, what we call the Jnana Vijnana Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, the 7th chapter, which is the second shatka or the second sextant inside the Bhagavad Gita. So, what did we understand so far? So, we had 4 speakers. So, on the left hand side, top left, we know that Suresh ji began by saying, Maya Sakta Manaf Partha. You want to have your mind inside me, Partha. And if you are asakta in me and ashraya in me, yunjan madashrayaha, and you are involved and supported by me, then basically you will be able to find some of the answers that you are looking for. And then he also says such is not very easy to do, and so he has the big reveal there in 3rd chapter, which is basically saying manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhe yatatamapi siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tatvatah. It's very difficult for people to know him tatvatah, meaning know him and understand him as he is. You cannot say you don't understand him at all. You cannot say you understand him completely. What you can say is you understand him to the level that you can understand at the given point in time. And so basically, the Lord God is saying, Manushyanam Sahasreshu. So he's giving a 3 orders of magnitude. I think Suresh ji said, with his calculation, he concluded that there was 1 or 2 people in all entire India who were able to do this, and which might be true because very few of us understand the Lord to the extent that we need to understand. Then the Lord goes in and then describes what he calls the jnana. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu khammano buddhirevacha ahankariti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadhaha. So he divides the prakriti into 8 parts, and then he divides the prakriti as apara prakriti and then para prakriti, and then finally we have this big huge shloka, the 7th shloka, the 7th chapter 7th shloka. We talked about it in great detail. Mattah paratarannanyat kinchidasti dhananya Mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana yuva. So even as the pearls are strung on a common string, such as how I am holding up the entire universe. And so there is nobody who is better than me, of course, nobody equal to me as well. And so therefore, Dhananjaya, the winner of wealth, you understand my wealth. My wealth is infinitely greater, and I am the owner, karta, and bhoktra is the concept that has been introduced in it. Then we had GVG, who came in and then did a very nice matrix, if you will. He was able to then connect the rasoham to bhumi rapo nalo vayuhu. Apaha and rasaha are together, and so he gave a beautiful matrix that connected the bhumi and apa, which is the jnana, to rasoham apsu kaunteya, which is the vijnana. So what the Lord is saying is, whatever it is that you think of as the essence of water, I am the essence of water. Doesn't mean that the Lord himself is the water. What it means is, remember how the Lord has said that he is Sutre Maniganaiva, he is inside and out of every single entity that exists. The Lord is saying he has his own forms all across the universe, and then his own form is now inside the physical water that you see. Inside the physical water is Varuna Deva, who is the Tattvabhimani for him. And then inside the Varuna Deva is the Lord God himself, providing that essential essence and also enjoying the essential essence, both providing and enjoying the essential essence. And GVG explained this whole entire concept by saying that the Lord has what he called as Swaksha Rasa, his own rasa. So the Lord is not going in and enjoying these things, bhoktra, in a very physical way. He's enjoying it in a very, very spiritual way, because he is enjoying his own essence in each one of these, which the essence is different than the form, right? The form is the water, and the essence is the Lord himself. And such an essence exists everywhere. So the Lord is not only an antaryamin, he's also the bhokta. He's the one who actually enjoys it, because if he didn't enjoy it, we couldn't enjoy it ourselves. So he's the one who provides the enjoyment to us. With these really nice concepts, now you see how the jnana has become vijnana. It has become much more fulfilling for us. It's one thing for us to know that the Lord is the controller of Bhumi, Apa, Anala, Vayu. It's another thing to know that the Lord controls it in a very meaningful way. The Lord controls it and is also an enjoyer of it in a very meaningful way. His enjoyment is what actually gives us the enjoyment. Because the example that we will give all the time is, your body is a jada body. The food that you are eating is a jada food. How is the eating of a jada food into a jada body giving the enjoyment to the soul so that you are actually able to do your activities throughout the day? That is because of the unique property that the Lord bestows on this jada concept, that is actually resulting in a kind of a energy for the spirit as well. Then finally, we had Neetaji, who came in and described there are many types of seekers in this universe for this dhyana and vijnana. And some of them come in and he say, Artho jidnyasur artharthi jnani cha bhartarashava. So even though jnana is there, even though vijnana is there, the people who are coming to approach jnana and approach vijnana are of four different kinds, because not all of them are coming with the purest of hearts. And some people are there because they have a need for something, artaha. Jidnyasu, some people are there because they're curious, they have a mental a desire to know more. Artharthi and jnani. And then finally, there is a person who is actually asking for something. And then there is a jnani, a person who is wanting to understand the Lord for the sake of understanding the Lord, with his point of honor being understanding the Lord. And so the Lord describes these four. The Lord is satisfying all these four. And then the Lord is saying, amongst all of these, the jnani is the knowledgeable person who is wanting to get more knowledge. So jnani tu atmaiva. He is my own self. Meaning amongst the people, jnani is his sannidhana, his vibhuti is what he's saying. What we are going to do now is, okay, we now know that jnana vijnana exists, and the jnana vijnana exists, and we know that jnana vijnana, everything is being bestowed by God. People go in and ask about him. The question that we're asking ourselves now is, what about ajnana? Is ajnana something which is independent of God that you are getting? What is the nature of ajnana? Is it a positive entity, or is it a negative entity, or is it a non-existent entity? And who is having this ajnana? And how can you first, what you need to do is think about a dark room and a light that is there inside the room. You need the light, which then automatically dispels the darkness. But the question is, what is the nature of this darkness? And what is going to happen now is, we're going to have Prakash ji and Madhuji, who are going to delve into this very fascinating subject and then go into a description of how this ajnana is, who is this ajnana for, who is giving the ajnana, and who has the ajnana to begin with. And so I welcome all of you to pay close attention as Prakash ji is now going to start walking us through the shlokas 19 through 24, and then Madhuji will walk us through 25 to 30. So we are now jnana, vijnana. Now we are knowing the nature of ajnana and who is this ajnana for, and then Madhuji is going to bring us all home. Then once that is done, we pass it on to Anandji to introduce the 8th chapter, the Purushottama, the Akshara Brahma, and then we call in for questions and answers. Seems like a good time, Prakashji, for you to take over the screen.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. It was a very nice introduction. So let me share the screen. Documents. Oh, how do I share?
There is a thing at the bottom with a green arrow pointing upwards. And if you
Yeah,
say
that's what
share,
Yeah, I did that. And then advanced sharing option, is that the one?
Yeah, and then you click whichever one you want to
Oh,
share.
okay. I got it. I got it. Then the slideshow, right?
We are able to see your very well organized OneDrive or something like that.
Okay, now I clicked on the PowerPoint. Do you see that?
We're not seeing the PowerPoint. We are seeing your file list
Okay.
in OneDrive.
Okay.
So Prakash, the best thing would be to stop share and
Uh-huh.
open the slide deck and then share the open slide deck.
Oh, okay.
You first open the slide deck on your
Okay.
screen,
Okay, got it.
then put it in PowerPoint, and then you can share the slideshow.
Okay.
Is this?
I think I got it now. Now can you see?
It will come.
Yeah, all
We
good.
can see the slides.
All good?
You just have to put it
Okay.
in slideshow.
Yeah, okay. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, we see it now. Go
Now
for
we
it.
can see, right? श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः परमगुरुभ्यो नमः श्री वेदव्यासगुरुभ्यो नमः श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थ पादाचार्यभ्यो नमः राघवेंद्र तीर्थ गुरुभ्यो नमः श्री सुगुणेन्द्र तीर्थ गुरु नमः. My obeisances to our teacher Keshavarao Thadipatri and Meera Thadipatri, and to Madhuji, Sureshji, and all the participants today, and also to my fellow students GVG and Venkiji. So with that,
Prakash,
nice
do you want to
introduction.
put it on slideshow, please? Sorry. Put it on slide.
I did that. Are you not able to see?
Not from this side, unless others are able to see, but
Okay, let me again try to put it. Do you see
Too many-
now?
No,
too many-
you are sharing the window, which is the slide deck without the slideshow. You need to share
Oh,
the
so
window.
first I had to, okay, got it. So I had to
You
do
need
it in
to,
slide
you need
share.
to move the, yeah, you need to
Okay, got it. Okay, let me, okay.
switch the things. This is all Vijnana Prakashji.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Samanya Jnana is not working right now. You need
Yeah.
Vijnana.
Vijnana, okay. Where is that? So the thing is, when I do slideshow, say, but you're not seeing the whole thing, right?
In your slideshow, if you go there, it will say interchange monitors. Can you click that?
Interchange monitors.
No, not that.
Okay.
Prakashji, at the bottom right, okay? Come
Bottom
to the
right.
bottom
Okay,
right.
okay.
Next to
Yeah,
the
this
volume
one.
control, you have the button for slideshow.
Yeah, okay. Now
One to the
now
left.
you can,
Yeah.
now you can see.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
Now
Right.
you said
Yeah, display settings. Display settings.
this is
Now
fine.
you
We can
say
see.
hide
No.
presenter view.
Go up display settings.
You cannot see
Yeah.
even now?
No. Press the display setting. No. Go to.
Okay.
No. Now we are off the slideshow. So first you have to go to the slideshow, and then
Okay.
press the display settings in Zoom, so that now we can set duplicate screen. So now do one thing. Just where you were, right? You see that screen thing. Just go to the topmost, right next to your auto save, your slide, your save button and everything. Yes, press that one.
Okay.
Okay, now go to the display settings. You see that in the top?
I don't see that in the top.
Say show taskbar, display settings.
the very top left.
Yeah, the top left, I don't see any option.
Top, middle.
I don't see any option there.
On the other screen, Prakashji, on the other screen, not on the main screen, on the other screen.
Okay. Which one?
I think that may be okay.
Yeah, okay. I think
No.
we leave it at this, so it's okay.
You know what? Let's just do with
Let's
this.
carry
Okay.
on. Yeah, go for it. Sorry, Prakash.
Okay. I'm
Enough
sorry,
of-
I'm not able to do this.
Enough of Vijnana. That's
Okay.
everything that we can go to that.
Okay. So, this Vijnana, what Venkiji described, can we, the next set of slokas deal with people, can we find people like that who have this special vijnana. Seems like it's a very long process. So do we have any people who have this vijnana? And then the next sloka after that, 20th, deals with people. There are so many people are there who have jnana, and what about them? Will they get that vijnana, and will they go back to God? So all these slokas after that also deal with the same subject, and the last sloka basically is going to talk about the ignorant people, who have a totally different thought process. And in fact, I want to bring that the Dakshina Shanka, what Venkiji told in that story. There is also one aspect to that. I think there is one more sub story to that. The Shanka gets into the hands of person who makes the bricks, and in order to make the bricks stronger, they use the Shanka, which has, I think, calcium. So what do what do these ignorant people think, who have who has a very low level of knowledge? So what is their gati? So basically, these are the set of slokas which deal with these actually 4 type of people. First one is one who has this vijnana knowledge. The next one is the people who have a very superficial knowledge, and the third one who has good knowledge, but for some reason they have veered off the course, and the fourth one is the totally ignorant people. So with that, we go to the next one. This sloka, the 19th, is very famous sloka. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyade vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So basically, there are many things in here. The main thing in this sloka is 2 things which I consider is bahunam janmanam. After many births, this jnani which we are talking about, he reaches God. How does he reach? What is his thought process? Is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. The word Sarv. Hello. So the Vasudeva Sarvam is the thought process he has. That is the level of knowledge he has. And what is so big about that? Vasudeva Sarvam. Vasudeva is everything. Therefore, why do we need so many births for that? And to find Samahatma Sudurlabha, it's very difficult to see a person who is rare to see a person who has this knowledge. So we have to just go a little bit deeper into this and see why all these things are so important to in the aspect of why such a jnani is rare. So Madhvacharya, he gives in his bhashya, in commentary on Bhagavad Gita, there is a pramana for this. In Brahma Purana, he says that Janmahir Bahubhir Jnatva Tato Mam Pratipadyade. It is not that in one Janma you acquire knowledge and then you come to me. No. Many births you take, and then you get this knowledge of Vasudeva Sarvamiti, which you are going to see, and then only you come to me. Okay. And not only that, it is also there in the Brahma Sutra. In the 2nd Adhyaya, 3rd chapter, 31st Sutra is Janmahir Bahubhir Jnatva Tato Mam Pratipadyate. I'm sorry. It is Pumsatpadi Vatpasya Sato Abhivakti Yogat. What this sutra means is, for example, you may have the potential, but you have to attain puberty or that stage. Only then you are able to show your virility, or you are able to show the potential. Similarly, we also have this is a long process. It's not a sprint. It is a marathon. We should be willing to go the distance to get this knowledge, and that knowledge should be very, very firm. You get the knowledge in once, and then you lose it. It's not like that. Repeat it. You should be able to repeat the same thing over janmas or many births, and have that firmness and the resolveness that Vasudeva, that is Krishna, is Sarva. We'll see that is the knowledge you should have. And in fact, this type of person who is having this firm resolve, it is just in the first I think in the first 4 verses, the 3rd verse, Krishna has given that indication. Of so many people, Manushanam Sahasreshu, out of so many people, only very, very few people able to even attempt this. Yatati Siddhaya. Even if they attempt, only some people reach, they understand me correctly. No, this is true for every occasion. For example, if you are a lawyer, to be the best lawyer, you need to put in the effort. It's a long journey. Anything for that matter, you are on any art form, or a doctor, or a software engineer, and so on and so forth. So, in order to have the exceptional understanding of the law, you have to go the distance. So you have to, the journey is very long, but yet only at the end of that you'll be able to get that complete knowledge. Then the pivotal thing is sarvam. You have to understand that the Vishnu is sarvam, is complete. And Rayuru, he explains that in a very, he gives three qualities of Sarva, main qualities. He says that Vasudeva, Sarvam, Vasudeva Adinatvat, Satadimat iti Jnanavan, meaning Sarvam Vasudeva means everything is under his control. He controls everything. There is not a single thing in the universe which is not under his control. Otherwise, he cannot be God. So he is controlling everything. That is why he is called as Sarvam. So why do you need so many births to understand that? Yes, that is why you're going to see in the next slokas how this is very pertinent. So Sarvam means everything is under his control. Then the second thing is Sarvam Sampurnam Vastu Vasudeva iti Jnanavan iti Vartaha. That means everything Sampurna Vastu is complete in all respects. He is Purna, he is complete. That is why he is also called Sarva. Then the third main important, the reason of Sarva is Sarvam Samapnohi Tatosi Sarvam Sarvaha, all pervasive. Basically, he's there everywhere. There is not a place without him. So he pervades everything, he is complete in all aspects, he controls everything. That is why he is Sarva. And also, this is one sloka which, when you recite Vishnu Sahasranam, it comes towards the end. Vasanat Vasudevasya Vasitam Bhuvanatrayam Sarvabhutani Vasosi Vasudanamusude. So basically what it is, he's there everywhere and he's in everybody. That is why he's called Vasudeva. I mean, he was Vasas, he's being there. So he's there in every place, he's there in you, he's there everywhere. That is why he's called as Vasudeva, which is basically is all pervasive. And not only that, in Taittiriya Upanishad, we see the Pancha Rupi Paramatma, five rupas of Paramatma, Narayana, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Anita, Sankarshana. The Vasudeva Rupa of Narayana is actually Moksha Pradatva. He gives you the moksha. That is why the Vasudeva, that particular word, is being used here to indicate that if you understand Vasudeva to be complete, to be everything under his control, and he's there, he's all pervasive, then he's the one who's actually going to give moksha. So in order to go to his place, in order to get rid of this samsara, you have to know him. Only if you know him, he will be pleased, and then he will give that that place in Vaikuntha. So having said that, I want to go to the next slide, where basically to even further elaborate this, Vishnu, Vasudeva, everything which is all the same, he is Sampurnam, he is Purna. And then he is, when you say is Sarvam Purna, is creating everything. He is creating everything. That means there is not a single thing which is not created by him. All the things are created by all the material things rather. That's why I want to be specific. Everything is created by him. And then he is the one who does all the time. Sada and Sarvatra. So Sada, all the time, he is the creator. Sarvatra, everywhere is creating. So he's creating something in, for example, some other galaxy that is created by him. So similarly, sustenance. So he's the one who is completely sustaining everybody at all places and at all times. Similarly, for regulation, he regulates everything. And finally, he annihilates everything. And he's the best recycler in this world. Nobody can beat him. Whatever he created, we create a mess, and we are not able to recycle properly. But God, whatever he created, he's able to annihilate, destroy everything and then take it back. So similarly, he is able to give you ignorance. Venkaji was mentioning about that. Again, after that, we'll talk about the Soba and everything. but the ajnana, that is ignorance of the different jivas, that is also not under their control. It is under God's control. So he regulates that. Similarly, if they have jnana, if it is there in their intrinsic nature, he will give you the jnana also. Then he binds us, he puts us into samsara. Everything is under his control, and he does that for all the jivas who have to do sadhana, I mean, who have to work out their way up. So he does that, and finally he releases them, and then he takes them back. So we also saw pervasion. He pervades everything. That's not a single thing, which is not under his pervasion. He pervades everything. He is also inside everybody. And then we saw that, especially rasoham apso. That is there as a rasa, is the subtle thing inside the water, which is giving the essence, which is giving the taste. And then also prithviyam gandha, in the earth, giving that smell. So that antaryamitva, that being inside there and controlling that thing, that is also completely under his control. And then sattaprada means it is the intrinsic nature of certain things. For example, you had taken apple. The appleness is the unique quality of the apple. So that quality is governed by him, given by him. He regulates that. Similarly, there's so many things where we have that uniqueness, jackfruit and mango, etc. All those things, sattaprada, it's given by him. In fact, we have seen that many times in our Upanishad class. This famous shloka from Bhagavata, Dravyam kalam karma swabhavo jivecha yat anugraha santi yatupeksha na santi. That is that quality, the intrinsic nature, is because God is giving that. God is because of God's grace that exists. If he doesn't give the grace, that will not exist. So that is also under his control, and he is completely controlling. And sarva adhara, he is the one who is the substrate of everything. He is the base. Without him, none of these things will exist. So he is basically adhara. Like that, so many things are there. I just listed some of them. In Vishnu Sahasranam, we see that Sarva Sharva, this shloka. In that Sarva, again, Sarva is there. He is Sarvasya Prabhava, that is, he creates everybody. Sarvajnat Sarvaha, he is the one who has all the knowledge. He is omniscient. Then Sarvagata Sarva, we saw that. Sarvagata means being everywhere, that is all pervasive. Sarvaguna Purnatva, that is Sarvam, Purnam, he is complete in all respects. Like the Sarveshwaratva, he is the Lord of everybody. There is nobody beyond him or equal to him. That we saw that. So, like that, Sarva has so many meanings. In fact, Sarva is Purna. That is why the circle also, we can say that is complete. That is one of the symbolic way of seeing that. And also, all these things I told, it is there at all places and at all times. And this rare soul who has understood God as Sarva, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma, these Mahatma, these great souls are very rare. And just to see some examples, we'll see 3 examples. One is this Dhruva, Gajendra, and then Prahalada. Interestingly, Dhruva and Gajendra, Gajendra when he's caught by the crocodile, he finally, he remembers his previous life, and then he says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he remembers God because he knows that only Vasudeva can give him moksha. Similarly, Dhruva, when God comes, is in deep meditation, God comes to him, and he's saying that, saying Yo anta pravishya mama vacham imam prasuttam sanjayavati akila shakti durasudamna. That is, even he's able to, he's seeing God in himself, and God is there, pratyaksha in front of him. But still he says that in order to even see you, in order to hear you everything, you have to come inside me. You have to be an antaryamin. You have to come and regulate me. Only then I will be able to even see you, hear you, and interact with you. So that is the level of these people, these great Bhagavatas, who understand this concept of Sarvam. The God is complete, and then they finally they reach God. And then the next slide. This also we saw in our Upanishad class. There is in Vedic parlance, in Vedic grammar, if you use a word for the Lord in its first case. So in Sanskrit, we have this 8 cases: nominative, accusative, instrumental, third one, fourth one is dative, fifth one is that ablative, that is, and then sixth one is possessive, seventh one is locative, and eighth one is addressing. So if you have a word which is in its first case, that is the nominative case, there is a rule in the Vedic grammar, it says saptasu pratama. That is, if you use a word in its first case, that can be used in all the cases. For example, in this case, the sarvam is a neutral gender. So sarvam, that is the first accusative case, nominative case, is the controller. Then the second accusative is complete. Sarvena, that is all the things all by him. Everything is created by him. Everything is sustained by him. So that is the instrumental case. Fourth one, sarvasmai. That means everything is given to him. Whatever is given to him, it goes to him. Okay. And then the fifth one is sarvat. Everything comes from him. Everything emanates from him. Sarvasya means everything is his. And then seventh one is everything is in him. So that's adara, sarva adara. So which we saw that in the previous slide. So this is one unique thing where it's very specific for God. That is, any word in its first case can be applied in all the, it can be used in all the cases to denote him. Then finally, we'll see some of the Vedic statements where it says that, Vasudeva Sarvam. Everything he is everything, right? The literal meaning of that is everything is his. What does it mean? If everything is his, then Jada and also sentient and everything is all the same. How can that be? Because if everything is his, if you go back to the previous sloka, how can you prapatyate? How can you reach him? If you're all the same, you cannot reach him. There is no meaning to that. So you have to be different. So we have to understand this Vedic statements in the proper context. So when you say in Purusha Shuktam, we say Purusha Evedam Sarvam, meaning this Purusha is everything, means everything is under his control. He is complete. Purusha, Purnatva Purusha. So he is complete and he is there. Everything is under his control. Sarva Sadhinatva. That's why it's called Sarvam. So we have to understand all these statements which are similar to the Vasudeva Idam Sarvam in this proper context. Again, Narayana Suktam Vishwam Narayana Marim Vishwam Edam Idam Purusham. That is again, it's under his control. Chandogya, which is very, very famous. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Again, it's not, everything is not Brahman. It is, everything is under his control. We have to understand it in that proper aspect. And Mundakopanishad also, Brahma Vedam Amrutam Purastad, Brahma Paschat, Brahma is there front, is there everywhere. It's pervasive. And then we saw in the fourth chapter, when we are doing fourth chapter, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahi, Brahmatmano, Brahmanautam. Everything is Brahman. How can that be? How can the utensils used in performing yajna, how can that be God? He's there inside, he's controlling them. Everything is under his control. And to give a Laukika example for that, a worldly example, when you say Microsoft is Bill Gates, that doesn't mean that he's Microsoft, meaning he's having that in his control. Similarly, when you say that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, means everything is under his control. So this is the whole crux of this, and the jnanis who understand this in this aspect, it takes it takes a couple of janmas, many janmas rather, and then finally comes to this understanding. Then we go into the next question, actually, rather what this sloka, the next sloka says that Kamehi taihi tairhita jnanaha prapatyante anya devataha tam niyamamastaya prakrityaya niyataha swaya. So basically the question here is, there are so many jnanis in this world. Okay, there are so many people in the jnanis, the knowledgeable people are there. Why, when that is the case, why it is so difficult and rare to find a jnani who has the knowledge that Vishnu is complete? And the answer is given for that in this shloka. It says that these people who are the jnanis, they have lot of desire. They have different desires, and they lose the real knowledge of supremacy of Vishnu. And then what they do is they take different scriptures. For example, if you take Shiva, it is Pashupada Agama. You take that scripture, you follow that, and then so many do's are there, like fasting, etc. in that. And then they take refuge in them. And then Why it is happening? Because it's their innate nature. It is their sattva, tamas, and raja. We'll see it a little bit later. Because of their innate nature and with their desires, what they do is they veer off the course. Even though they have some knowledge of the supremacy of Vishnu, they go into this path. So here, the key word is prakritya. That is, they have that intrinsic swabhava, that is their intrinsic nature. And that is what makes them to give that desire. Again, that intrinsic nature is not under its control, but that is the reason. So that intrinsic swabhava, the prakritya, the swabhava they have, that makes them to go towards different devatas like Brahma, Shiva, etc. And also that they worship with rewards. The real worshipper of Vishnu will not expect any rewards. He will be a nishkama karma. I mean, he will not have any desire to have any fruits of his actions. But these people, they have a lot of desires, and then they're drawn towards the riches, material riches, and then they go towards the other deities. So the point of this sloka is, it is difficult to find a Shuddha Bhagavata. A pure devotee is very difficult to find. After that, we go to the next slide. We saw that to find the pure Bhagavata is rare, and then we also saw the reason for that. The next sloka talks about two types of people here. I will just explain that in a while. So let's read the sloka. Yo yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya archutam icchati tasya achalam shraddham tameva vidadamyaham. So basically, the two categories of people are there. One is Traividyas and another is pure Bhagavatas. And I put the thing but here. What is the reason? I'll just come to that. The Traividyas are a group of people. They have very superficial knowledge of the Vedas. They don't have the real understanding all the Vedic statements. Only finally they talk about Vishnu. They have really very superficial knowledge of the Veda. That is where they go after the different deities. And then they do the puja of, like what I said, Brahma, Shiva, Varuna, etc. And the motivation for them is to go to Swarga, heaven, for the material riches to enjoy there. They do have knowledge of Vishnu, but that is not very strong. It is very, very, very weak, I would say. Then they also do this after the end of the pujas, they submit everything, they say Krishna Arpanam, but that is not very strong. That's like, mechanical. They go to Swarga, enjoy, and then come back after their punya is gone. So it's like staying in a 7-star hotel, for a few days, and then you come back, and if you have to hit back reality, it's something like that. And also, their knowledge of Taradamya is the ontology, that is the Vishnu at the top, and then all the different the deities, the devatas below them. And Vishnu is the only one who is having the independence. And nobody has the independence. Only Vishnu has the independence. Everybody else is dependent on him. So this ontology or the taxonomy, they don't have that understanding. That is why they go after these lesser ones. So finally, the end result for these people is they don't reach Vishnu. They go to this Shiva Loka or Brahma Loka or some other Loka, they come back, or the heaven come back. And then the second category of people is they are pure Bhagavatas, but they are off course temporarily and propitiating other deities. So for these two people, what the Lord does is, but they are not Tamo Yogyas. They don't hate God. They don't say that I am equal to God. None of those things. They are Viparita Jnana. This is wrong knowledge. But what Krishna does is, he does not disturb their devotion towards Brahma Shiva. He keeps that steadfastness towards their devotion towards Brahma Shiva. Let them worship. Let them be in that course. So it doesn't disturb them. So this is the one. Next one, and this is just as a commentary of Madhvacharya in the Gita, 2nd chapter, 40th sloka. Neha Bhikrivana Stoj Pratyavayo Nidya Solpamasya Dharmasya Trayitu Mahadva. In that, he talks about the Traividya, the definition. In fact, also in previous slokas he describes. But this one is very close to what I am talking about. So he says that Traividya Dharma Purusha Swarga Bhuktva Nivartate. That the Traividya Dharma is enjoying, going to heaven, enjoying, and then coming back. Punah kuryat punah swargam yati yavat bareyashe. So they do the good things, go to Swarga, come back, like that. Sarvan devan parivijnaya tatkarima sadabhaya. That they propitiate other deities. So we all saw that. So that is the definition of three Vidyas. I just want to touch upon that. It is there in by Gita Tatparya by Madhvacharya, 2nd chapter, 40th sloka. Then what is so wrong? I mean, wrong means what is so limited about the fruits or the phala bestowed to the Traividyas and who do puja to other devatas? Who actually gives you the punya or the phala to those people, the Traividyas and pure bhakti, but in the sense that they are weird of the course. To answer that question comes the shloka, the next shloka, 22nd shloka. Sataya Shraddaya Yuktaha Tasya Aradhanam Ihate Labate cha Tataha Kaman Mayeva Vihitan Tahan. So basically, this shloka says that all these benefits are the phala fruit given to these Traividyas and pure devotees who do puja to other devatas, and they do the devotion. We see so many people other than who do the propitiating other deeds, they do the devotion. But that fruit or that benefit is bestowed not by those deities. It is actually, we saw that Antaryamin concept, it was, we saw that. So Vishnu is there inside all of them. And he is the one who is actually giving all the benefits to them. And also, this shloka talks about Rayuru gives the explanation. Why do this pure Bhagavatas? Actually, they are supposed to be going back to the permanent abode, but due to some reason, due to a curse or some other reason, for example, a good example is Ajamila. Ajamila was going in the right path. So when he went to the forest, he sees something, and then his mind gets disturbed, and then he goes off the track. But eventually, they will come back by the grace of Vishnu and by Guru Upadesha and etc. They come back, and then they come back to the right path. So this shloka talks about who is giving the what you can say, the benefits or the phala, the fruit is actually given by God. So that is what this shloka says. The next one, when this shloka talks about when there is Traividyas who have superficial knowledge, they think that everything is coming not from God because they don't have the very good understanding of Vishnu, who is actually giving the fruits. They think that it is coming from other deities. Then why do they even want to worship Vishnu as the Sarvam or Purna? So that is what is explained in this shloka. We'll just look into that. Antavattu palam tesham tat bhavati alpamedasam devan devejo yanti madbhaktya yanti mamapi. He says that, you see, the people who worship other deities, they get some benefits, but that benefit is not permanent. So it is having an end. It will get destroyed after some time, because they think that they are superior to Vishnu. But Vishnu, as we saw, is the Swatantra Purusha. He is the only independent entity in this entire universe, only Vishnu. But why are they doing that? Because because of their desires, their desire level is very low. So when their desire is low, they only get that much fruit. If you want to become only graduate, undergrad, you only go to the level. You want to go next step, you'll get that one, like that. So their desire is only at the very low level. They reach one small point and then they come back. And also, I probably will explain it later. But the Vishnu's devotees, they reach the permanent bliss. Now, the objection here, which I previously told, if you worship other devatas, you get the phala. Why do you worship Vishnu? But as we are seeing, the correct ontological position of Vishnu is at the very high level, is the topmost level. And also the Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, wherever they go, they are not permanent. They get destroyed. When the final deluge comes, everything goes away. So they don't understand that. They are only interested in a sprint rather than a marathon. And Rayaru clarifies that. Then why should we not worship other deities? We can worship other deities. That is why the understanding of Tarathamya, the entire Tarathamya, or the ontology, we need to understand properly. And if you have that understanding, you will worship other deities, but you will not worship other deities as the primary one, but you will only worship as a parivar, as an entourage. But they're all there under him. And you will worship under up to that level. So you will not go beyond that level. So that knowledge, the proper ontological knowledge is very important in order to to go to the final the final level of going back to the Vishnu Loka. So with that, go to the next Loka. Here, as we talked initially, when I told there are 4 types of people, this is the last category, just the ignorant people, abudaya people. How these people think. So that is what this shloka talks about. Abhyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abudayah param bhavam ajananto mama abhyayam anutamam. These abudaya, these ignorant people, they think that they are not aware of God as Sarva. They are not. They don't understand that He is eternal, He is infinite, He is auspicious, He has superior attributes. They think totally wrong of Him, as He is unmanifest, He is unborn. But they think that He has a perishable existence. That is how they think of Him, and then their gati is totally, even worse than Trividyas. So basically, what it says is this abhyaktam is one of the key words here. It says that Rayaru says karyadeha hina. That is, he does not have a perishable body. Karya dehinam. That is, for us, we have a karya deha. That means, for us to exhibit something, we need this material body. But God does not need this perishable body. So, and it is supported by pramanas. There are a lot of Vedic pramanas which says that God has no perishable body. So, but the devas, the Brahma, Shiva, everybody, they have a body which will go off sometime. And they don't understand the difference, and they think that those devas are higher than Vishnu. And also there is one more alternate expression by Raghavendra Swami. He says that these ignorant people, they have very limited knowledge, they are minuscule knowledge. They think that they are identical to Vishnu without realizing the supreme something. For example, that is why these people misunderstand these statements like Sarvam, Kalpadamama, everything is God, means I am equal to God. That is the kind of understanding they come. They don't, they have this very, very low level knowledge, and then their result is very bad. So basically, to summarize, the shlokas 20 to 20, the 19 shloka is about the purest Bhagavata who reaches the top level, is the best of the best. 720 to 724, these 4 shlokas, we talk about 4 categories of jivas, rather 3. We have Shuddha Bhagavatas, Sattvic people, but they are temporarily weird, of course, which you saw that. Then we have Trividyas, Rajasvic, going back and forth, heaven and earth. And then the last, which one we saw right now, is Abhudva Tamasic concept. So basically, we saw the Prakriti, we saw that the Shabda Prakriti I think in 20th shloka. It is based on the intrinsic nature. So these different people, different intrinsic natures, their end result is different. And this concept is covered in detail in chapter 17. With that, I just want to come to the end of it. I want to summarize this, and then what do we take home from this? Krishna Vasudeva is the complete entity, and everything is under his control. It is very difficult to find, and very rare to find a jnani who has obtained the knowledge of Vishnu, the Vishesha Jnana, which we are talking about. That's what is the whole chapter about, right? And then there could be many jnanis. They will worship other people, other devatas, but their knowledge is superficial, and also because of the nature. And also, they only get minimal phala, only very less phala, and that's destructible, so it's not permanent also. So the only rare Vishnu Bhakti will reach the permanent abode of Hari. Now, let's be positive, can we become that rare devotee? Yes, we can. But we have to be prepared for the long run, not the just quick sprint. We have to be patient. We have to go the distance, and we have to do all our actions without expectation of any fruits. We do it, just keep doing, like Nike. The caption says, "Let's do it." I do it. We just keep doing our karma. with the as a puja bhava, as as a devotion, as a puja to the Lord, everything what we do. And there are many Purandara etc. So many great dasa devotees are there. They're given a lot of simple songs, which gives this meaning, and then it motivates us. So yes, we can also be there in that very high level, provided we are able to go the distance. And in the last chapter also, Krishna says, manmana bhava, mad bhakto bhava. You keep your mind on me. You become my devotee. Mat yaji. You do puja to me. Mam namaskar. You do namaskar to me. Mame vishadi. Then you will come to me. You come to me. Satyam te priyosime. This is Satya. I promise you. So yes, we can do it. That's a positive note of this. Then again, this also is very prema shloka. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanamana aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayamasu. I will take care of all your sins. You surrender to me. That's what he says. Then to go to the next the topic which Madhuji is going to cover. Why some of these people are ignorant about Vishnu supremacy? Well, it is due to their intrinsic nature, and that ignorance is not under their control. They require divine intervention and the grace for their ignorance to be removed. With that final note, I hand over to Madhuji to take over to go to the next topic. Thank you very much. Sri Krishna Arpanam.
Thank you very much, Prakashji. Let me try and share my slides. Just bear with me for a minute. Yeah, okay. Can you see this all right? Just give me a note. Okay, yeah. Devam Narayanam Natva Sarvadosha Vivarjitam Paripurnam Gurumshchan Gitartam Vakshami Leshataha. So thank you very much. So fantastic session. So let me just take you back and understand. So far from part A and part B and the first half of part C, we've understood that there are different types of jnanis and vijnanis, as how Venkiji so nicely put. And so then Prakashji took us through the Bhagavatas, then the Trividyas, and then the totally ignorant. So there are the three types of these folks who exist out there. So that itself is a classic example of the jivas. Each jiva is different. Each jiva has its own inherent attributes, inherent qualities. Some are Trividya, some are Bhagavatas, some are utterly ignorant people. Some have some jnana, some have lots of vijnana. Remember, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no manaha, na vidmaha, na vijanimo yate that anushishyat. That Kena Upanishad verse that we saw. Na vidmaha is jnana. Vijanimo is vijnana. Chaturmukha Brahma himself says, we can't know this Paramatma fully. Yeah. But we can know him to some extent as per our capacity in a very general sense and also in a special sense of the Vijnana, which is what this chapter is talking about. But then there is this problem, right, that we have to accept that there are folks who actually do not know. And Krishna actually accepts that. He says, Na aham prakashaha sarvasya yogamayaya samavruttaha mudo ayam na abhijananti loko mam ajam apyayam. Na aham prakashaha sarvasya. So that word is that particular first line. I just want to pick up for a few minutes and dwell on that because that becomes very important. Aham. So na prakashaha sarvasya aham. So that's how you split it. Na prakashaha. Prakasha means having knowledge. There are many folks who don't have knowledge of me. Na aham prakashaha sarvasya. So that takes us to this philosophy of ignorance, right? So there are people who are ignorant. So that means they have ignorance. So then, of course, the question is, what is that ignorance? Where is that ignorance? Who has that ignorance? When did that ignorance come by? Why is that ignorance? And how do we get rid of that ignorance? So these are all big philosophical questions. And that is what we are supposed to do, having this sadhana sharira to actually reflect and understand this ignorance fully. Okay, so that itself is a problem for many of us. Ignorance, who has it? And we have done this in our satsang so many times, but it's well worth our time just having a brief glimpse. What is this ignorance? Who has this? Is it the jiva that has the ignorance, or is it the Brahman that has the ignorance? Is ignorance was created? When did that happen? Who created it? All these questions come about in philosophy. And of course, Srimad Bhagavatam gives us that the 9 stages of creation. In that 6th stage, Shashtastu Tamasahas Sargaha. So our Bhagavatam is saying in the sixth stage that positive ignorance comes into being. Okay, positive ignorance. Remember, I've not said negative ignorance, positive ignorance. Hold on to that idea. So ignorance somehow came into being during creation. And then the question is, who has this ignorance, Jivas or Brahman? And what is it that Krishna is telling us here in this verse 25? It is very clear from what Krishna is saying, who has got ignorance. Okay, but before we go to that, of course, we need to remind ourselves there are various synonyms for ignorance in our Sanskrit: ajnana, kala, moha, ajnana bandhana, avidya, abuddhi, tamas, andha, avidyamaya. So these are all the names of ignorance, and we just, of course, need to understand them in context. So here I've said Shashtastu Samasaha Tamasaha Sargaha. So our Vedas and our Puranas got it spot on. They got absolutely right about the neurobiology of ignorance. Okay. Ignorance is not merely the absence of knowledge. You might remember we have done this some 4 or 5 years ago, this particular topic. Yeah, ignorance is not merely the knowledge, is not merely the absence of knowledge. It's a big statement, but that is the correct statement. We say I am ignorant. We do not say I do not have knowledge. Okay, so we never say I do not have knowledge. We say I'm ignorant of something. We don't say I do not have knowledge of that. Okay, so that itself gives us an idea that when you look at the neurobiological perspective, ignorance is something positive. Look at loss of memory. Even loss of memory is not a passive process. Unfortunately, this is a major health problem as we age. This loss of memory is also not a passive process. We just don't forget passively, and we don't have ignorance passively. Okay, so this is a very interesting biological, neurobiological concept that is very relevant to this discussion. Ignorance is a neurobiological phenomenon. Forgetting is also a neurobiological phenomenon. And remember, forgetting is not the same as ignorance. Okay. There is a study in primates. I'll just read it. It's a beautiful analysis. Metacognitive judgments on non-experienced events. Okay. That is ignorance. Ignorance is something you have never experienced before, but you have a view that what it is. Okay. And our neurobiologists tell us that there are certain parts of the brain that could control that. And if you look at forgetting, you've had a prior experience of something, and somehow you're not able to recall it in your consciousness, and so you've forgotten about this. Okay, so that is also an active mechanism. There are lots of neurotransmitters that are involved. So the key point that I want to stress is ignorance is real. Okay, it is not an illusion or a mithya. It is a positive entity. It has got a space-time correlation, which is the criteria for reality. It is there in this brain. Similarly, forgetting is a real phenomenon. It is real, and it has a space-time correlation. So remember that idea about ignorance. Once we have understood that ignorance is a real thing, then we do Pravesha. This is 25th verse, which is so beautiful. Na aham prakashaha sarvasya. Okay. So here Krishna is saying, these fellows, these ignorance, na prakashaha aham. They don't know me. Okay, is what Krishna has said. So that by definition means that Krishna doesn't have the ignorance. It is the other fellows on the other side, the jivas, that have the ignorance. That is the implication of the statement that Vedavyasa has given us in 725. We know that there is another school which actually puts ignorance on Nirguna Brahman itself. Brahma Ajnanavada, as it's called. That ignorance is on Brahman. That is one extreme view. But if you put this in this equation, it just does not fit here. Na aham prakashaha sarvasya. Krishna is very clear. It's only the others who don't have knowledge about him. Okay. So think about that from a philosophical perspective. So the right way of understanding this, of course, is Swabhava Ajnanavada, where it is very clear from what Krishna is saying. Na prakashaha sarvasya. So these jivas who are there, they do not have the knowledge of this Brahman who is sitting there as their Antaryamin. Yeah. So that is what is going on here, that this ignorance is actually on the jivas. It is the jivas who got the ignorance. That is why na prakashaha. Prakasha means light. Light means knowledge. And they do not have that knowledge because they are ignorant. So we have understood from prior discussions in our satsangs that the jivas have various types of ignorance that our Vedas describe. So they have what is called Jivachadika, which is the Bhavarupa Jnana. They themselves do not know their inherent nature fully. They may know that they exist. We all know that we exist, but we actually really do not know what our inherent attributes are. That will come nearer just before Aparoksha Jnana. Okay, that is Jivachadika. Then, of course, there is the bigger problem of Paramachadika, where there is this curtain that has blocked us and the Brahman. We are not able to know this being because there is a curtain called the Paramachadika. Then, of course, the jivas like you and me have this sense of independence and identifying with the material world. Okay. So now the key point that we need to understand is this ignorance is there, right? But this ignorance is under the control of Brahman. It is under the control of Vasudeva. It is under the control of Vishnu, as Prakashji mentioned a few minutes ago. Okay. That is a key point what Gita has said in the last several verses. But if you go to Brahma Ajnana Vada, Mayavada, who controls ignorance? How did this ignorance envelop Nirguna Brahman? How did that happen? Did Nirguna Brahman himself decided, oh, let me cover myself with ignorance? Or ignorance decided, let me go and cover Brahman? If ignorance covers Brahman, then ignorance must be higher than Brahman. So all those kind of philosophical questions come, which can be considered problematic in that particular view. So if you look at Krishna's verses, it's very clear that the jivas have ignorance, and this ignorance is a positive entity. It is come about during creation, as we learned from Bhagavatam, and it is under the control of Brahman, right? After all, ignorance is one of the eightfold cosmic dispensation of the universe. The Janmadhyasya Yataha is actually performed by Brahman. So now the bigger philosophical question is, how did this ignorance of jivas come about? Why should they have ignorance? Can God be so kind to us? He's considered to be the most kind person ever. He's so benevolent, but why has he put this ignorance for us? And Krishna beautifully answers in the very next word, Na aham prakashaha sarvasya. But this ignorance which is under my control, how did this come about? Yoga Mayaya Sam Avrutaha. Okay, Yoga Mayaya Samavrutaha. Okay, so this Maya then becomes an important philosophical term, and we know Maya has got at least 6 different meanings, right? Icha, Mahima, Prakriti, Chetana Prakriti, ignorance, illusion, and so on. And everything needs to be taken in context. So when you say Yoga Maya means two things. One is the first three, Icha, Mahima, and my nature. Prakriti there means also my nature. It also means Mula Prakriti. Okay, my own capacity or Yoga Samarthya. Okay, I do this. I am such an independent being. I am capable of doing anything. And in my eightfold cosmic dispensation, in my capacity, I actually give this to Jivas. My own capacity. Yoga Samarthya is Yoga Maya. That is one meaning of Yoga Maya there. Okay. The other one, of course, is Yoga Maya, as I told you, is also another name for Chetana Prakriti, Shri Tattva, Lakshmi, and particularly one of her forms, Durga Devi. Durga is called Yoga Maya. Okay. This Chetana Prakriti, what does this Chetana Prakriti do? It takes this number 16, right, the Jivas, and envelops them in this 15 kalas. And that we have read in Prashna Upanishad. It envelops them in this 15 kalas. Who? This Lakshmi Tatma does this to the Jivas. And she is called Yogamaya. Okay. So there are various transliterations that give various interpretations of this. But we have to stick to the pure form, the classic way of understanding this through the Upanishads. And if you do that, you will understand that this ignorance happens because Chetana Prakriti does that upon the instruction of Vishnu, who ultimately makes it happen through his Yoga Maya. Okay? The Sam Avruttaha, Avrutti, remember that Skanda Purana, Utpatti Sthiti Samhara, Niyatir Jnanam Avruttihi. These are all the jobs that Vishnu does. Okay? So he is not visible to us because he has made it so by his capacity, and it is Durga Devi's action that eventually leads us into this situation. Okay, we need to understand this. So still saying in this particular section, na aham, look at that word aham. Aham again is an important secret name of Paramatma. It's a sacred secret name of Paramatma. Aham means aheyatvat aham nama. Okay, that Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we have to understand and bring it here. Aheyatvad aham nama, he who is undiscardable as our antaryami is actually called aham. So Krishna is saying, you know what, Arjuna, my name is aham, but these fellows who are, I'm very close to them, but these fellows don't know me. Because I do not show myself to them unless they are qualified for it. I do not show myself to them. Why? Because there is this covering called paramachadika, or the curtain. Okay, because there is a curtain, does that mean, so this is an interesting situation, yeah. So there is this curtain, so the jiva is not able to see Brahman because of this curtain. Now the question could be, is it possible that the Brahman also cannot see the jivas because of this curtain? Okay, so that is what we see in a stage play. There is a curtain and the audience are sitting this side, they can't see what is happening in the stage, and the folks who are getting ready in the stage cannot see what is happening in the audience. Is that the similar situation? Definitely not. So before we come to that, what has happened? This Mudo ayam na abhijanati lokam mam ajam avyayam. So these ignorant people do not, he's actually censured them so badly, he called them as Mudas. So these guys do not know me as unborn and avyayam. Avyayam can mean two things. It can be changeless or deathless. In the previous verse, Prakashji was telling this Ajnanis think that this Vishnu has a perishable body. But immediately Krishna answers that these ignorant people do not know me actually. They do not know that I am unborn. They do not know I am changeless. They do not know that I am deathless. I am an independent Anadi Nitya entity. There are many Anadi Nityas, but I am the only independent Anadi Nitya entities, he is saying. Okay. But then, as I said, this problem of the curtain, does that mean that the Brahman cannot see the Jivas? Just because the Jivas cannot see him because of this curtain? No. In the very next verse, he gives a beautiful answer. Veda aham samatitani vartamani cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kaschana. Okay. So he says, Samatitani, Vartamanani, Bhavishyani, past, present, and future. I know about everything in existence simultaneously of the past, present, and futures, instantaneously. As in Pramana Lakshana, Srimad Acharya has given us that Kevala Pramana, as we have been discussing, Swa Paragata Akhila Vishesha Vishayam. That is Ishwara Jnanam, that he knows everything simultaneously of the past, present, and future. That is why there is Akara, Ukara, Makara, right? That is why this guy is called Om Tat Saditi, as Krishna himself said, I am called Om. Because of this, I know the everything. I am called Sarvajnaha in the Upanishads. Yeah, not only about you, the souls who are sitting next to me, but the whole Bhutani. Remember that word Bhutani has various connotations. Bhutani means Bhutas, Panchabhutas, Brahmanda. Or it can be those which have Bhuti, the Jivas. It could be the Jivas in Samsara. Or it could be the Jivas who have attained liberation already. Or it could be the Brahmanda. So all the Tattva, Abhimani, Devatas, Jivas, everything, Krishna says, I know all these guys. Okay, I know all these guys simultaneously. Mam tu vedana kashtana. Nobody knows me fully. Okay, nobody knows me. I know everybody. So this equation does not work here. We cannot know him fully, but at least why can't we know him as per our capacity right now? Because he is so benevolent, isn't it? He's so kind. He's so gracious. Why can't he do that? Not possible, because our current constitutional position stands in the way of getting true knowledge. And that is what the 27th verse is saying. Ichcha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sargeyanti parantapa. Sammoham. So it's such a delusion. It is illusion, delusion that these guys have. In fact, there are 5 types of avidyas. Tamas, moha, mahamoha, tamishra, andatamishra. Illusory knowledge is what we are talking about. This moha is illusory knowledge. Sammoha, mahamoha, deeply formed up illusionary knowledge. That has happened to these jivas, as we said. One is because of Vishnu. The second is because of Lakshmi. But in this verse, Krishna talks about a third reason why the jivas have that illusion, because they have an inability to navigate the dvandvas that lead to illusory knowledge. What are those dvandvas? Ichcha, dvesha. Okay. likes and ones that we don't like, desires and hatreds, sukha, dukkha, hot and cold, rich and poor, all those things that we are not able to handle, that puts us in confusion, leading to delusion. Okay, this kind of a situation, this constitutional position of jivas, that ignorance, the jivachadika and the paramachadika that has enveloped them, it is not something that has happened at a particular point of time. It has been there eternally with the jivas. Sarge yanti, and every creation it comes about, envelops jivas right from creation. Every creation, a Chaturmukha comes, jivas come with their linga sharira where the ignorance is. There was never a point that the jivas did not have, but of course we can get rid of it. They are anadi, but they are not nitya. Okay, so jivas have sammoha, strong, convinced illusory knowledge. So let me take through these slides, each linked up to the other concept. If all jivas have ignorance, then no one will be left for liberation, right? So if all of us have ignorance, then no one will be, we can never get liberation. Who is going to be a guru? Who is going to be a student? If you are a guru, you need to have some knowledge, right? You cannot be in illusion and teach. Some folks are in illusion, they do this, but a real guru means he should have no ignorance. Yeah. So how is that possible? If jiva, all jivas have ignorance right from creation, then there will be no one left for liberation. The answer is no. Some will get rid of it, reassures Krishna. Okay? How to get rid of this sammoha? Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohena nirmuktaha bhajante mam dridhavrataha. So there are some folks. Who are those folks? Satvika jivas, who do sadhanas like us in the satsang. Okay, so these guys will eventually get rid of these sins. The Satvika jivas who do good deeds and progress towards God, okay, they are dvandva moha nirmuktaha. They are able to get out of this delusion caused by these dvandvas. Bhajante mam dridhavrataha. They worship me and observe vows with determination. So Krishna says there are some folks who do it. Don't have to worry. Although ignorance is there, the Satvika jivas will find a solution for this. Okay, that is why they'll go to a guru. That is why they will understand this, all this temporary nature of all these dvandvas. Once they understand the temporary nature of the dvandvas, then they will progress. That is what Krishna has said in the second chapter, right, for us. So you can make that progress. Okay. So here is a small tip. We discussed about the 4 types of bhaktas that Venkiji was mentioning about, where the last one was Jnani, which Krishna likes. Okay, but this verse that talks about the Jnanis who are able to do this is not a repetition. Okay, it is, there are some Jnanis who may still have not got completely rid of the dvandvas. Here what Krishna is talking about is that pure, that exalted Jnani who has gone past the dvandvas and how they do it. Okay, so worship me and observe vows with determination. When you do that, what is your benefit? Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye te brahma tad viduhu kritsnam adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. So ye there is important. He is talking about these guys, that is the Satvika jivas. So in order not to be born, which is the solution for not having old age and death. Okay, jara marana mokshaya. If you don't want jara and marana, jara means old age, marana means death. If you don't want to have these things, then you should not be born. If you are born, you will 100% get this. Okay, but to avoid this, they have firm faith in me. Mam ashritya yatanti e. Will get to know me, Vishnu, Brahman, when they attain aparoksha jnana. How do they attain their aparoksha jnana? Krishna says, kritsnam adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. Okay, these are interesting words, various ways in which opens up. Kritsnam means fully. Yeah, kritsnam adhyatmam. Adi atma. Adi atma means your soul. Atma is the soul. Adi atma is about the jivas. Okay, that is one way of understanding it. So they will know about me only when they have kritsnam adhyatma, means their self-realization. So that is the jivachadika. First the jivachadika should go. Then only paramachadika will go. So first step is kritsnam adhyatmam. The second step is, once they have had the self-realization, full self-realization, that curtain will move transiently. When that curtain moves out, that is the paramachadika moves out, you understand karmacha akilam, that this God is a swatantra sarvakarta. You understand that he is the omnipotent, omniscient, present being who is controlling everything. That is the aparoksha jnana that you will get. So that is one view of that. Krishnam Adhyatma there means scriptures. So he will be learning all these scriptures and associated actions, that is the sacrifices, yajna, nishkama karma, so karma cha akhilam. Then he will make that philosophical journey. Sadi. So Krishna then finishes off here at a very high note. So you may have all this jnana and vijnana and you will be practicing it for many births. Sadi bhuta, sadi bhuta, sadi, adi bhuta, adi devam, mam sadi yajnam, cha ye viduhu prayana kale, api cha mam te viduhu yukta chetasaha. Okay, so here he is given the whole journey of souls, which we are all experts here. So that multiple births that are happening is our current state of play. But once we have reached that exalted state where we have had our jivachadika taken out, then we've got we have had our aparoksha jnana. But remember, even when you have had aparoksha jnana, you will still have some prarabdha karmas to finish, and assume that you have even completed all the prarabdha karmas. So you are that exalted soul who are an aparoksha jnani, and you have completed prarabdha karmas, and this is your last birth. So that guy, what he will do? Prayana kale api cha mam te viduhu yukta tetasaha. So it is that person who at the final moments of their life, mind will be totally absorbed in Vishnu, and at that point they'll know me because they'll make their onward journey through Devayana. Okay, so these process needs many births. It's meant for aparoksha jnanins in the last birth. Okay, so we need to be clear about that. So, and again, look at these three things that he has said. Adibhuta. So that guys in the last birth, they need to think about me all the time and also think about all these things. Adibhuta, Adideva, Adiyajna. Okay, and also in the previous verse, he has also said about Brahman. He has also said about Brahman there. Etad viduhu here. Te Brahma tad viduhu. Krishna says those who know Brahman. So then there is a question, is Brahman and Krishna are different? So you need to settle all these problems. So Krishna is going to do that soon. But what he is saying here is Adibhuta, Adideva, Adiyajna along with me. If you know that, then you will go, when you have the last breath, when you do all this, then your jiva will exit through the Sushumna Nadi. Then you will follow the path of Devayana or Archiradi Marga as described in the Brahma Sutra. Go to Satyaloka, hang out there, and once the Pralaya is done, and just before the next creation, you cross through the Viraja Nadi and then go and stay with that Vasudevam Sarvamiti. You go and stay with Vasudeva in Vaikunta when you reach that stage. So he is giving us the positive side. In the first three, he has given us why that ignorance is happening. And then he said the folks who are able to get rid of it, that is the Satvika Jivas are able to do that. And that Satvika Jivas then can make their journey towards Vasudeva. That is the journey of souls. So those who have constantly contemplated on God all their lives have a chance to think about God at the time of death. But here is the bitter pill of philosophy. This does not happen to all of us. This happens to an aparoksha jnanin when he is able to go. So our initial aim is for us to become aparoksha jnanis. And if you want to become an aparoksha jnanin, the first step is you need to have paroksha jnana. Paroksha jnana. If you need paroksha jnana, then you have to do shastra abhyasas, swadhyaya, pravachana, and constant, thinking, contemplation, shravana, manana, nitidhyasana. You have to do that. Then only you will have that, eventually those three form the paroksha jnana. Then you will have the aparoksha jnana. So the general knowledge, the special knowledge, they will all, come together at that point for our salvation. So Krishna has said 6 aspects must be known at the time of death. What are those? Body, Adibhuta, Jiva, Adhyatma, Abhimani Devatas, Adidevam. Okay, and who is the controller of this? Adiyajna. Who is this Brahman? In the previous verse 729, Te Tad Brahma Viduhu. So do we need to consider Krishna and Brahman are different? No, our Krishna himself is going to clarify that. We need to know who that Brahman is. Okay, and we need to understand what is all this karma and how we should do this karma, and that all karma is because of him. We need to understand this. Is Brahman and Krishna different? So these are all important concepts. Adibhuta, Adi Atma, Adi Deva, Adi Yajna, Brahman, Karma. These are all the concepts that our chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga, Krishna is going to talk about all this in great detail so that we become these Aparoksha Jnanins and make our way to take our Devayana path and go and hang out with Vasudeva in Vaikunta. So I'm going to call upon Anandji just to pick this up at this point about the 6 aspects that needs to be known and introduce us to chapter 8. Over to you, Anandji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All good, Anandji. We can see it. Yeah, no problem.
Great. Thank you very much. Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Namaskars to all the members of the satsang, and thank you very much to Sureshji and Madhuji for giving us an opportunity to contemplate on the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is about Akshara Brahma Yoga. So this is the second of the Jnana Shatakas. Venkiji was touching upon it, that we divide Bhagavad Gita into 3 Shatakas, and the first 6 is about sadhana, adhyayas. The second one is all about Jnana Shataka or sadhya, upasya. It continues with the mahimas of the Bhagavanta or the mahimas of the Bhagavan. As Venkiji mentioned, the theme of Jnana Vijnana continues in these 6 chapters, the second 6 chapters. In fact, the 9th chapter, the first verse itself says Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. So this theme continues. So having heard the 7th chapter, this chapter opens up with Akshara Brahma. Akshara Brahma Yoga. This shows the path, the sure path to reach the Lord. How? By concentrated mediation, by single-pointed devotion, or the bhakti. The best thing about chapter 8 is it has very, very strong links to 7th chapter. Not necessarily the 29th and 30th verses of 7th chapter, but in fact the whole of the 7th chapter, because it's all about Jnana Vijnana. So all the speakers have done a stupendous job, and that makes understanding the chapter 8 very easy. Chapter 8 has also got very strong links with Kenopanishads and Mundaka Upanishad. So that brings us a bit of a revision for us. The 8th chapter opens with 8 questions. As you saw in 7th chapter, there were no questions at all. Whereas the 8th chapter opens with the 8 questions. And the Asta Vidya Vyapara, the terminology coined by Venkiji, keeps coming here. The number 8 comes often and often. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna has asked a total of 16 questions. There are 8 questions here, which starts in the 8th chapter. And our Krishna, who is the 8th son of Vasudeva, Devaki, 8th avatar of Vishnu, he answers all the questions. So as Madhuji said, there are explanations about Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhuta, Adidhaiva, Adiyajna. But the most important question, which expounds the whole chapter 8, is the 8th question. 8th question is all about how do we contemplate on that great supreme personality during the prayana kala, during the time of the death, at the time of death. How do we contemplate on that God? Why should we do that? And how do we do that? And then there is a whole process of doing that. And Krishna answers all this. In fact, he goes beyond the death and goes to the journey of the souls, which we have talked about a number of times, but it's beautiful to learn about that. And Krishna doesn't stop there. So he goes beyond the journey of souls and looks at what happens after that Brahma's 100 years have finished, how the creation happens, how the dissolution of the universe happens. So there is a lot of discussion in this. And finally, we come to this aspect of Akshara Brahma. and devotion. There are some misconceptions in certain schools about who the Akshara Brahma is. Prakashji was talking about perishable, imperishable, and all those. We will expound a lot more in that and try and make it very, very clear to this what Akshara Brahma means. Finally, the 8th chapter ends with journey of souls in relation to time. So there is a discussion about if souls pass away in certain months, certain days, certain times, they will reach Swarga or they will reach liberation. If they pass on in other timings and other calendar timings, they'll come back to Nitya Samsara. Is it really so? There are a number of commentaries there where they put it down to calendar times. It's not so. We will see that it's not the calendar times, it's entirely different. So the message of the 8th chapter will be our whole life should be pure by divine consciousness, and especially so in the Antakala. So we hope to do this in 2 sessions, hopefully. And I have got some very good speakers, Srikant Raoji, Shashwatji, Veena-ji, Harishji. Hopefully by the end of 2nd session, we should have an expert talk by Dr. Pratosh Prasad. We will introduce him later. And I would like to conclude this curtain raiser for the 8th chapter with this shloka from Dvadasha Stotra. Santatam chintayenantam mantakale visheshataha naivodapuh brunantontam yadgunanam majadayaha vande vandyam sudanandam vasudevam niranjanam indirapati madhyadi varadesha varapradam vande vandyam sudanandam. Back to you, Mataji.
Beautiful, Anandji. Thanks very much for giving us a brief glimpse of the fascinating things that are to come in September. So we've got all our satsangis still online. So maybe Venkiji, Q&A. If there are any pertinent questions to discuss over the next 5-10 minutes. Anybody wants to pick up some topics, now is the time to go for it. Anand, no, sorry. Yeah, if anybody has a question, now is the time to go for it. Yeah.
Excellent talks, Neeta here. Just not a question, but just a thought about that Paramachadika. I think as you're mentioning whether the Lord can see us, it reminds me of that one-way mirror where, where there is where we see in the movies or things where a thief or someone is being questioned and the police officers can see them from outside, but they can't see him. People in the interview room cannot see who is outside. So I think it is like that. So just like a one-way window, one-way mirror.
Yeah, a very interesting analogy, Neetaji. Thank you very much. Clearly,
Madhuji, can I ask something?
yes, Sheila, go for it.
This Paramachadika, that curtain goes when Aparoksha Anubhuti comes, isn't it?
Shilaji, I go first and then we'll get others also to comment. So you're asking when does that Paramachadika goes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for that very important question. So it depends on what kind of soul you are, number one. Okay, so we are all mundane souls. So for us, the view is at Aparoksha Jnana, that's curtain. It's only a curtain, right? Curtain never gets destroyed. Curtain is you open and then you close. That is why in all our temples, particularly in Vishnu temples that you go to Srirangam or other places, you will have this major, it's a build up towards that, right? So you have that build up and then suddenly the curtains are open and then all the arti happens and then the curtain is closed again. Okay, so there is a huge philosophical significance with regards to why it happens in Tirupati, Srirangam and other places is an analogy to this about your Paramachadika, which is a curtain that opens and closes. Okay, and it opens and closes when in samsara. You are still in samsara. And Aparoksha Jnanin is still in samsara. He still got his linga sharira. He still got connection with the material world. So he is not attained nirvanam or nirbhanam. Yeah. So that for you and me, when we reach that stage, the view is we get a very brief glimpse of Paramatma like a lightning and then it closes again. Okay. But then if you think about Ekanta Bhaktas, so we didn't have time to touch upon Ekanta Bhaktas and Madhyama Bhaktas. So we could call ourselves as Madhyama Bhaktas, that we might get that brief glimpse. But there are these exalted souls called the Ekanta Bhaktas, particularly the Rujus, the Chaturmukha and the Vayu and Latavyas and so on, the whole category of souls. For them, they're probably looking at this Vishnu all the time. They have an Aparoksha Jnana continuously, that they are actually watching this Vishnu to some extent based upon their capacity. They are not going to get the full glimpse of Vishnu, but they will be doing it. So there is a temporal relation, and it depends upon your yogyata, swarupa yogyata, and how that paramachadika happens. And then the key point to remember is paramachadika is not destroyed. Okay, it is always, it is opens and closes, but it's not like there is no dissolution of the paramachadika, but that is another point for discussion. So
No, because can I continue with my question? Because in temples, once they open, they don't close it, isn't it? The curtain till the temple closes.
it eventually is closed at some point, right? Once, if you
Again next day.
it is closed at some point if you have a traditional temple where it will be closed. So, but what I'm trying to say is that whole process it reminds you of how that aparoksha jnana will be. Yeah. So, but in many of the temples that I've been, Shilaji, where that archana, that Mahapuja or whatever will happen, and then the curtains are closed. That's it. If you go to an ISKCON temple, it's very classic. If you go to an ISKCON temple, I was in Budapest a couple of weeks ago. So in the ISKCON temple, initial darshan happens, and then they close for some time and they open and so on. So it probably depends on temple paddhati. I think various methods in which that it's happening. But I see your point. It's an interesting observation. Venkiji and others, would they want to come in at this point about?
Because Venkiji and others mentioned it last week, isn't it, about this? One class, one of these, 3 sessions. One session, I think it was mentioned, but didn't get it right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so namaskara. So the Jiva Chadika, Parama Chadika, right? So the Jiva Chadika is you being unable to recognize yourself. And Parama Chadika is you being unable to recognize God, right? So that is the nature of ignorance, right? So when we have ignorance, we don't have just one kind of ignorance, right? Madhuji was showing several kinds of ignorance. And so the Jiva Chadika, when you get the Aparoksha Jnana, you get to know yourself reasonably well. And so if you want to say something getting destroyed, the Jiva Chadika might be considered as destroyed, even though you have this concept of Tirodhana that happens and you fail to recognize yourself. If you want to call something as destroyed, you might think that the Jiva Chadika, that once you know who you are, you continue knowing who you are. But the Parama Chadika is not so. In fact, Paramachadika never goes away and it continues staying. The reason why is because the amount of visibility that the God gives to you is in his own control. And so in Jiva Chadika, you have taken out your blindfold. Then you're fine. But the curtain that the Lord chooses to put on himself, the Yogamaya curtain, right? The Yogamaya that Madhuji was describing, that curtain and will always remain. Even in moksha, for example, only the amount of God that you can see is only you are able to see. In samsara, you are able to see only God for a limited amount of time. In moksha, you are only able to see the amount of God that you are able to see at all times. Do you follow? So there is a time and a space component of this Paramachadika. And the Paramachadika is Vishnu Tantra. It is controlled entirely by Bhagavan Vishnu. So the control of Vishnu, we know, is already also existing in moksha. So therefore, getting rid of the Jiva Paramachadika would be something like you are able to see Vishnu on your own. You can never see Vishnu on your own. You always have to see Vishnu because Vishnu has decided to show him to you. Do you follow? And so
in other words,
Paramachadika never can go.
In other words, Vishnu controls the transparency button as to how much of transparency he gives.
And for how long?
For some, it will be like a fully transparent.
Yeah, makes it darker or lighter, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the amount of control will always be in Vishnu's hand, and that control will never ever go away.
Yeah. So very beautifully put, Vicky. So again, there are different views in various strands of Vedanta, of course. What we are discussing is the Tattvavada perspective of Vedanta. Then, of course, you have the Visishtadvaita perspective, where there is a similarity there about between Jiva and Brahman. So it is a Vishishta Advaita, as it's called, Saguna Brahma Advaita, if you like. Where there is similarity between the jivas and Brahman in moksha. Similarity, but they are different in number. But they are similar, but they are different in number. That's a special category that Visishtadvaita has come with. And then you have, of course, the Mayavada, which says, oh guys, you become Brahman. That's it. You will be infinite, omniscient, with infinite bliss. So those are the three views. And again, the jivas, as per their swabhavas, they will find these things, and then they'll make their journey. But the message of Gita is very clear as to what the journey is. That is why I like that na aham prakashaha sarvasya, where it clearly it is said that. And so I think we need to stick to that point, I feel. So we got Saptarshi, who's raised his hand. Saptarshi.
Hello, sir. Yes, I just recollect one point from Bhagavata where actually Narada in his previous birth, when he was gaining this aparoksha jnana, he got the vision of God for a very fraction amount of time, but in the next moment it's gone, and he heard that, okay, you will not get the vision now. Continue your contemplation. So it is like what you have said, like it's in God's control. Like even after gaining the aparoksha jnana, how much vision we have in this material world, it's not a permanent, it's not always, but in a fraction. But after getting liberation, maybe we can see him all the time.
Yeah, well put, Saptarshi. Thank you very much for that contribution. And remember, even after aparoksha jnana, you will still have prarabdha karma to exhaust. And for that prarabdha karma to be exhausted, you need a little bit of ignorance. So that is what is the benevolence of Paramatma. Ignorance is not a defect when you look at it from God's perspective. He just bestows that grace with ignorance and aparoksha jnana so that they can exhaust their prarabdha karmas. So that also he does as well. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, fantastic. So if there are no further questions, just a couple of announcements. So we are finishing off our summer term in a very high note, I think, with chapter 7. So we got a bit of a summer holiday, summer break for 4 weeks. Folks usually travel and school holidays and then everything else that comes in between. So 4 weeks we'll take a break. And then we restart again from first week of September, and I fully rejuvenated. And I hope that we will also be, going back and revising all the things that we have learned and heard so far. And first week of September, we start off with, we pick up with Kena Upanishad where we left, and then immediately Anandji the following week, and the second week and the third week, they're going to do 2 sessions back to back, and do us the chapter 8, and then we carry on with the Kena Upanishad. So that is the tentative plan. This could change, but definitely the satsang starts from first week of September. So watch out for those text messages in the WhatsApp group and so on. And again, I was going to say, please volunteer if you want to contribute to something. This is such an open forum. Anybody who wants to contribute is very welcome in these satsangs in Gita and other chintanas. Okay. So on that note, Krishna Pranamastu, and Suresh ji, if you are still there, please could you recite Om and close today's session, please.
Krishna.
Krishna Pranamastu. Hare Krishna, everyone. Take care. Enjoy your summer holidays. See you in 4 weeks.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.